Hello, my name is Robert Keller, and I'll be sharing a video detailing the Max code I wrote for our sPIral installation. I'm calling it this because the sound in our installation spirals around you, and we also use data from a Raspberry Pi to control some of the audio effects. That's the Pi in sPIral. Um, so, the goal of the patch I wrote was to kind of take the data from the Pi and kind of use that to do something cool with audio. Also, bring that together with the speakers and lights that we hooked up for our installation. So I'll be using the Seaboard, essentially, and the Rise package. I'll be controlling a lot of the control signals and inputs for the audio synthesis that's going into this installation, coming out of those speakers. The sounds that you'll be hearing, those are altered and controlled by this patch. So let's get into it. Yeah. Just to give you an idea of what we're going to be going over, I'll zoom out and let you see the patch. Yeah. Okay, so a brief overview. Over here, this is input from the Seaboard. That data is going to be used to, control audio, play audio. Over here, we have three places that you can drag and drop audio files. In our installation, we're going to have 3 voices going at a time, or at max of 3. I'll explain how that works in a bit. Over here, we have Ramin's code that takes data from the Pi and sends that to the audio and alters the audio. We won't be using it in this video because I don't have the Pi on me, but you will definitely hear it during the installation. Yeah, and then, yes, this is the place that you drag and drop audio. Down here, these are trees of synthesis, essentially. The audio comes in from the top, and as it goes through, it gets altered in interesting ways, comes out the bottom, and you'll hear how that works. Let's zoom in. Okay, so the first thing I'd like to start with is explaining the voices. So all of the voices, you can drag and drop the files in here, and they get routed to this guy right here. They're received by sound 1, sound 2, and sound 3. So the Seaboard has a couple buttons on it. It has a keyboard, it has sliders, it has an XY pad, and it has arrow keys. You use the arrow keys to select which voice you want to control. So there are 3 voices. The number will go from 1 to 2 to 3. If you're on 1, you can turn 1 on and off. You can control variables that alter the sound. We can change the sound. Yeah, if it's set to 2, that means that you can control the second voice. You can turn it on and off using this toggle right here. You can change qualities of the sound using the Seaboard. If this were 3, you could turn it on and off using this toggle switch, and also alter that sound in the Seaboard. Over here, on the parser, you also have X and Y coordinates. So if you were to select sound 1 and then play the audio, essentially in our upper level patch, we have a way to control where the sound comes out of the speakers. So the Seaboard has an XY pad, and you can literally drag your finger across the XY pad and position the sound wherever you want in the room. And it's a lot of fun. So you'll get to see that. If you were to lift your finger, then the sound would continue following a Lisa-Joux pattern around the room. Okay, so now that I've explained voices a bit more, I'll show you how the tree of synthesis works, essentially. So the audio comes in here. and we have a couple effects that go through the tree. The first of which is you can speed up or slow down the sound. The second is that you can basically apply spectral delay to the sound. The third, you can downsample the sound. Fourth, you can apply a filter to the sound, a bandpass filter. All of these effects are controlled by the Seaboard. I'm going to manually manipulate the effects in here so that you get an idea of what you can do with each sound. So without further ado, let's grab a sound. I'm going to go with this guy. So we'll drag him in here. So you'll notice that nothing happened. That's because the first voice is selected, but I've yet to enable it. If I were to hit the ± key on the Seaboard, you would hear this. So the audio is flowing through here and entering the tree here. So at the moment, I have playback speed disabled, and I have the spectral delay disabled. Downsampling is effectively disabled, and so is filtering. I'm going to apply them now to show you basically how they work. The Seaboard would control this variable here, so we could bring this up to 100% play speed, or we could do something fun like 200%. So we'll bring it to 200% and enable it. So now we got something that's pretty fast. We could get faster. We could get slower. So that's cool. And then when we're done with that, we can go back to the original sound. Now let's look at spectral delay. To turn spectral delay on, you just hit this button, and you get some really interesting effects. These two parameters are controlled by the Seaboard. These are randomly generated on startup. So you can adjust the time delay, and you can adjust the feedback as well. And your sound will sound a little different. We can disable that and hear the original sound again. Now we'll come down to the downsampling, and you can turn downsampling up and get some really interesting robotic sounds. Let's bring that back to normal. Finally, we have the low-pass, high-pass filter. Now I'd like to say, essentially the idea behind this was you press the first key on the keyboard, and you press the second key on the keyboard. The first key press enters the low frequency, and the second key press enters a high frequency, which essentially is going to give you a bandpass. So if we were to increase this, you'll see that all the low frequencies are getting cut out. If we were to now bring this high pass down on the high end of the filter, you get a very kind of underwater sound as expected. Now let's bring it back up to the human range of hearing. Yeah, so that's kind of quick overview of how this tree works. I'll say that this number here is different on different computers, so it takes a little bit of setup and a little bit of rejiggering this to get the keyboard to work on different computers. So yeah, we can apply more than one effect at a time to a voice, so we'll do that real quick. We'll make this guy really fast, and we'll also apply some spectral delay. So now we got something that sounds pretty cool. We can also downsample this. Yeah. So you can see how there's a bunch of different combinations that you can use with the Seaboard. So let's try two voices at a time. We'll move up here, and we'll drop a second wave file in. Something, let's do a little classic rock. I'm sorry for the length of this video, by the way. You notice that there's no sound coming out at the moment for the second voice. That's because we haven't enabled it. So if this were set to 2 and the user hit the ± button, we get, you know, some money for nothing. Now we'll look at the second tree, which is where this voice is coming in, and we can alter it as well. So for example, we can make it really fast as well. or we can make it slow. We could add spectral feedback. And then we could downsample that. And all the while the original the audio from over here isn't being altered. So each of these, here, I'll just turn audio off. When the actual installation is going, it can be a little chaotic with more than one voice, but you can see how you can enter different voices, control them using the Seaboard, and get some really interesting effects. Yeah, with the speakers and the lights going, this is actually really, really cool. So I'm excited to show it off to you guys on Wednesday. Thanks so much for sticking with me. There's a couple of instructions in the patch letting you know how to use it. And Project sPIral signing out.